if you truly feel like you are one of a kind and you're walking in confidence, right? During the dating process, because you know that what you bring to the table and you know that you're excellent, then I wouldn't settle for anything less. And so putting what your intentions are out there and allowing for him to also share his are very important. If he says, hey, marriage is not for me, and you want to get married, then I don't really see the back and forth and holding on to that relationship. You can put out there, hey, no, I really want to get married. I understand that you've been married before, it didn't go well, you've gotten a divorce, but this is something that I really want for my life. I want to have kids. I want to be married. And so I think it's important that you really, truly put that out there.
Hey, it's Logan Renee of the Soulkation Podcast, the home of all things soul care, a place where we heal, we grow, and we laugh, all while you're building your six-figure business or CEO career. And now for our Soulkation announcements. Make sure you're attending the Soulkation Life class that's going to happen February 25th. And this one is going to be juicy because we already did part 1 to this. We're bringing the men back. The Men Tell All part 2. And we're going to talk about how hard it is to stay in relationships. We're going to talk about non-negotiables. How do you live in a house when you have different visions, where you want to see your family than your boyfriend or your spouse? Not wanting children, not able to conceive children, how to be hurt in a relationship or something toxic happen in a relationship, but you still are committed. We're going to talk about interracial relationships. All of these things will be covered, ladies. So you want to be there for our Soulkation Life class, The Men Tell All. All of the links will be in the show notes. Make sure you're a part of the Soulkation Tribe Facebook group for more details. Also, mark your calendars for the 2021 Soulkation Retreat. I just want to be the real me. We're going to talk about having a CEO mindset. We're going to talk about liking and accepting the woman you are and forgiving the woman that you were. We're going to talk about releasing self-doubt, unpacking brokenness. We're going to give away trips. We're going to give away a lot of door prizes. There are going to be some amazing people on the panel. And since you're a giant, we want giants in the room. So you want to make sure that you're there. Mark your calendar for Saturday, August 28th, and more details can be found at loganrenee.com. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Soulkation Podcast. I have a special guest with us today, the beautiful Mecca Tartt. Thank you, Mecca, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Logan.
Of course. I wouldn't have it any other way. So just a little background about Mecca. She worked in medical device sales and generated over $2 million in sales annually. That's a lot of money, guys. She was a recipient of the Power 30 Under 30. She hosts Self-Care Saturdays and the Wives Prayer Challenge. You have to sign up for them, y'all. Have to. She co-hosts marriage retreats with her husband, Alduan Tartt. She's also an instructor with her husband on a course called The Ring Formula, which I took. So I highly recommend The Ring Formula when they do it again. She's also a wife and a mother of 2. Again, welcome to the Soulkation Podcast, Mecca.
Thank you so much, Logan. I am so excited to be here, and it's been great getting to know you, and I'm so thankful that you've been a part of the Ring Formula you mentioned. We have a passion to work with single women specifically to make sure that they're equipped with everything they need to know when it comes to dating.
We're going to get into all of those questions very, very soon. But what I really love about you, Mecca, is you touch different parts that I feel like you're really gifted in. So you got health, you got dating, you're doing marriage retreats. So, you're just hitting all sectors. So let's break it down into the 3. What made you get into all 3 of those, though? Like, what was the driving force?
So health and fitness is always been a passion of mine. And I have a story behind it. My mother, when I was in college, she had a heart attack. And that completely transformed and disrupted really my college experience. My junior year, I had my superwoman. My mom has always worked many different jobs, served on many different boards. And that is actually what led to her heart attack. It wasn't obesity. It wasn't high cholesterol. It wasn't high blood pressure. It was her doing too much and carrying the weight of trying to be the superwoman. And so in seeing that led me to literally take into consideration where I was applying my time, but it also made me want to get really, really, really healthy. So in college, as a junior, I started working out with a trainer every day. And then fast forward to 2013, I competed in my first fitness competition. And I competed in my first fitness competition. I won the competition. I placed first place in my class. And I did 3 competitions back to back. It was amazing, but it really came from that experience and the pain when I saw my mother in the hospital bed. She's doing amazing now. She's fine. But that's really where my drive from health. And then also being in medical device sales for 10 years and being around sick patients, seeing people that have the opportunity to transform their health before they got into the hospital, just by eating well, just by exercising, just by drinking their water. Because the truth of the matter is you can reverse your what you're genetically predisposed to.
That's so true. I was listening to Dr. Hyman the other day on YouTube. I love him because he always snapping on us about health. He said that your zip code will determine your health versus your genetic code. Like the people you're around, the people that, live in your neighborhood, your community, your grocery store will determine your health.
Right.
That's true.
So I agree with that because I do believe in the same birds of a feather flock together and they all go to the same place, right? And so I do agree with that because your girlfriends, which is why even with the self-care summit, the women's health and fitness empowerment summits that I have throughout the year, that forces people to step outside of their comfort zone. So if you're in a household with family that's eating macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes, chicken, all of that heavy Southern food every single day, that leads to weight gain, which then leads to obesity, which then leads to diabetes, which then leads to possibly losing a limb as a result of it. So I do believe that you are a product of your environment. I also believe that, yes, if you are in an area where there's not, fresh fruit and fresh vegetables, you don't have access to those things. That's another problem that we see, especially in the United States, is that there's certain areas in which there is a lack of healthy food. But the Self-Care Summit, that's my way of being able to reach ladies all around the world, over 56 countries, being able to truly reach them and being able to say, okay, this is what we can do together, even if you are in a circumstance that's preventing you from becoming the healthiest version of you. Let me meet you where you are.
That's really good. And I see that you mentioned vegetables and fruits. For those because I have friends that just say, I hate eating vegetables, what would you recommend? Should somebody get like a chef? Should they start ordering those meal prepping companies so they can start tasting different foods that they've never probably tried because they grew up in the South or wherever? And like, what would you say? What would you recommend so they can get into that type of eating with those different types of vegetables?
Sure. So I think it's all about exposure. And I think sometimes it takes for you just to have a slow start, just easing into something. I am someone and I will tell you, the women that I work with, especially when it comes to health coaching, I like to do radical things. I'm like, look, let's shake things up. Let's do a 3-day water and healing cleanse. Let's days of veganism. Let's do 3 days of whatever it may be, right? Let's do 3 days of omitting, sweets and dairy and carbs, right? But what I would say for someone who is just starting, start out with something small. So maybe it's the fact that, you haven't tried different vegetables. Maybe you're not trying asparagus, which is good because it's a diuretic. So it flushes your system out. There might be certain vegetables you've never tried. Just try out 1 or 2 things. Maybe it's starting off with making smoothies in the morning and just adding some spinach into your smoothie with your cherries, your black cherries and your strawberries and your blueberries, because the berries are really, really, really good for you.
I live for berries every day. Literally.
Yes.
And blueberries are out of season right now. And I'm just like, ugh.
They are. And they taste tart because I actually bought some from the farmer's market and they had some surprisingly, but they did not taste good.
I was like, y'all know these are out of season. Why do y'all even put in the store? So let's switch it to the dating. Oh, let's do another question for under health. For those who are currently pregnant, there's always this fear of gaining weight and maybe I'm never going to lose it. I mean, yes, literally you just snatched. Okay. So how were you able to, after, carrying your daughter, how were you able to get back to that body, and did you put on a lot of weight when you were pregnant?
So that's a great question. I'm going to answer that question in 2 different ways. I think that it is important for a woman to get into shape when she knows that she wants to get pregnant. I knew that I wanted to be pregnant soon. I didn't know when that was going to happen in an entire year process. So I got into the very best shape that I can possibly get in so I can make sure that my body was in a position to house a baby, right? So I worked on getting into the very best shape. And so surprisingly, when I found out I was pregnant, I was 4.5 months pregnant. I had no idea I was pregnant. I thought I just had a pooch going on. I thought it was something that happens when you get into your 30s. And I was doing ab work. I was trying to lose this pooch that started to develop. And meanwhile, I was pregnant. People are probably like, well, how that happened? I still had my cycle. I did 6 different pregnancy tests, and all of the 6 pregnancy tests, which some of them were in the hospital, came back negative. All of them came back negative. And that was over the course of 4.5 months. And it was because there are some women that you have to do a blood test in order to find out if they're pregnant. And that happened to be me because my levels were low. And so I feel like to say that I got into the best shape of my life, knowing that I wanted to be pregnant. And then after I found out, surprisingly, that I was pregnant, I continued working out with my trainer. I continued working out. I did 5-6 days a week of training with my trainer. I still did my cardio. I literally had the most amazing pregnancy because my body was already in a great position. So even if a mother right now or a woman who's pregnant is like, well, I didn't start out in a place where I was in really good shape. Start where you are. I always say, just start where you are. It's okay. And I think there's a perception. I will specifically talk about my community. I'm an African-American woman. And within our community, there's this thought process. You're eating for two. You're eating for two. Enjoy pregnancy. Give her the donuts. Give her the cake. Give her the bread. You don't want gestational diabetes while you're pregnant. Think about your body being your temple. And you are carrying life in your body. You are carrying the most beautiful thing in your body. So the way that when I thought about it that way, I wanted to make sure that I was putting the healthiest things in my body in order to create this life that was going to come out of me. And so I think when we change our thinking, and it's not, oh, she's pregnant, eating for two, feed her. It's more about she's growing a life inside of her. So everything that she's putting into her body should be healthy, should nourish the baby, should nourish the mother. And that's what I believe. That's what I would share with mothers to be and current mothers and women who are walking in a place of expectancy, knowing that they're going to be a mother one day.
That's good. I didn't know that you could be pregnant and all the tests are wrong. That's good to know. All right, let's switch into the Lord help us just be with us right now. Let's switch into the section of dating, okay? Mecca, how do you find a man during a pandemic?
That is the magic question, and somewhere there is an answer out there. And that's where my husband and I partnered together on the Ring formula. We talk about dating through. It was initially set up just to help women get into a position to date. Now it's become dating during a pandemic and what that looks like. The fact of the matter is there are eligible bachelors out there. There are. Guess what? They exist. So for the ladies who are like, you know what, I need to leave Atlanta because there's no men in Atlanta, so I'm gonna move to DC. And there's no men in DC, so I'm gonna move to New York. The same girlfriends that I've had that have moved from Atlanta to DC because there were no men, those same women are single now in DC. The men are here. And there's a study that came out that showed that women that are married women that get divorced get remarried at a faster rate than single women. Why? Because they know how to date, they know how to position themselves, and they know how to go after what they want. And so I would say dating during a pandemic looks like this. And we talk about this a lot during the Ring formula. It's about setting yourself up so that you cast a very wide net. What does a wide net look like during a pandemic? Because obviously you're not going out to the lounge. You're not going out to the girlfriend's birthday party where you might bump into someone, unless you live in Atlanta, because Atlanta is all the way wide open during this pandemic, even though that is not my case. I have not been out to any parties, anything like that, but Atlanta is open for a lot of people. So I will say, for those of you who have been on lockdown, for those of you who are following your state's guidelines, what do you do in order to find Mr. Right? So let's go through this quickly. So I would say this. The first thing is if you are someone who is opposed to online dating, you need to make yourself uncomfortable so that you can get comfortable, okay? That is the new way of dating. let me tell you something right now, actually. And for all the ladies that are listening, all the guys that are listening to this podcast, Match, the stock for Match is up right now. And the reason why is because people realize that, you know what, I can't just sit inside my house and expect that he or she is just going to drop into my house, because it's not going to happen. You can think that the person you run into at the grocery store, but has it happened? If it hasn't happened by now, it's probably not going to happen. And so I would say that the other thing is that when you get over the age of 30, there's a study that came out that also showed that over the age of 30, if you are single, the chances of your potential mate, your husband or your wife being in your phone is very high. So what that means is that your potential husband or wife is already connected to you in some way after the age of 30. And that means you're like, okay, well, there's definitely no one on my phone that I would talk to. Okay. That's not what I'm saying. It is a person that you are connected to. It might be a girlfriend who has a single guy friend, or her husband's single guy friend. So you also need to tell your friends that you are open to looking for love. So your friends know that you are on the market and that you're really, really, really serious this time, because some of you all out there call your friends up and say that you're ready to start dating. They try to connect you with someone, and then, oh, I'm just working on myself right now. Don't do that to us. don't do that to us, because we're like, we put you out there. We're like, okay, we're ready. Okay, there's someone we want you to meet. Oh, yeah, I decided to take a few months to work on myself. So when you're really, 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 really ready, you have to put the odds in your favor. And that means you have to go out there, put yourself out, and don't just try one source. Do you just try one source to put your resume out there? No, you post it on many different websites. So the same thing comes with dating. You have to make sure that you utilize different dating websites in order to see the best candidates that are out there, and be open to it. Be open to it. When you go out to a party or a gathering, fundraising event, a lounge, there might be 60 guys in the room mixed in throughout the crowd, but there may only be one that catches your attention. All you care about is the one. So if you have some guys reaching out to you that you're just like, oh my gosh, this is terrible when you're on the dating app, keep trying. There are so many success stories. Some people don't broadcast it, but there's so many success stories out there about couples that met their spouse through online dating. So I'm a huge advocate. Like I said, the second thing for those that are like, oh, I don't want to do that, try it. But the other thing is, I would definitely announce, if I were single in the market right now, I would definitely let my friends know, hey, do you know anyone? Do you have any friends? And I wouldn't care, because the thing is about putting yourself out there so that you can find the right candidate, or so that you can allow the right candidate to find you.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay, so we're getting online, ladies. Again, trying it out. So how can you tell? So once you're online, you're trying it. How do you know if he's serious or not, or you're just in rotation? Because he has so many, he's scrolling through.
Right. That's a great question. And so I think the one thing is that you don't want to stay in a place where you're always going back and forth on the Match, on the Bumble, on the different websites that are out there. You want to make sure that you can move that conversation to a phone conversation, because that will tell you a lot, because a lot of people can hide behind the screens. They can hide behind text messages. They can hide behind the computers. So you want to make sure, even once you move that conversation to the phone, that is actually a phone conversation, that this man can have a real conversation with you. And so I would say that should happen sooner rather than later. Obviously, to make sure the person is a real person and not someone who's catfish and all of that. That's where the back and forth on the Match until you feel comfortable is okay. But then after that, I would say to him that, if this conversation has been going so well, I'm more of a phone type of girl, here's my information. Put it on him for him to call you. And if he doesn't, because you've given him the access, you've told him that you're more of a phone conversation person. If he doesn't move on that, that's where I would question his intentions. Is it something that a married man? Let's have a real conversation. Is it something that a married man is just on this website having fun with single women? Is this a man that's really not ready to commit? Make sure that he is still moving. He's still the first person that steps up to the plate. And I'm old fashioned when it comes to that. You put yourself out there. You've said I'm more of a phone conversation like a woman. Let him then pick up that ball and then call you.
Amen to the amen. Okay. So how should you bring up the talk? Now we've moved on. We moved into conversation. We're vibing. It's been a couple months. When should you have the talk about if we're going to be serious, we're going to move into a relationship? And how do you even bring that up?
Sure. So I think the conversation starts when you first have your first phone conversation, or even the back and forth when you're talking to the person. You want to find out what their intentions are. And I am fine with stating where I am. I am looking for a serious relationship at this point in my life. I've dated a lot and I know exactly what I want. What are your thoughts about that? And if he's like, oh, well, I was just trying to have fun. Like I wasn't planning on anything serious. Just kind of trying to figure out what we're doing. Don't allow for that man to waste your time.
That's really, really good.
So that's how I would have to talk. And that would start honestly very soon, because I would never want myself or my sisters. Obviously I'm married now, but I would never want to put myself in a situation where I think I'm dating towards marriage and the other person is just having a good time. You are valuable.
Amen. That's true. So let's say he commits, y'all are in a relationship, it's going on a year or two.
Okay.
What's a good, everybody has different timelines, so
right.
Let's do average to have that talk about moving to the next level of marriage. Do you bring it up or should he bring it up? Should you just wait on him to bring it up?
No. So I think that's also a conversation. I really honestly think that's a conversation in the beginning as well. If I am in a relationship with you, we are talking, we should be having an open conversation about where we are in this relationship. So even in the beginning, and I was telling one of the many ladies that we've coached probably over, I think it's been about 400 during this pandemic. Wow. Through the ring formula and through our sheltering in while dating, there's been so many women that we've coached throughout this process. And I would say this is that in the beginning, when you all are starting to get serious, even before things get serious, it's going back and saying, what are your intentions? What are you looking for in a relationship? What makes you most happiest in a relationship? What's your intentions with me in this relationship? I would have those conversations in the beginning, because again, if you were the forever girlfriend, and that is not your intention to be a forever girlfriend, then do not put yourself in that situation. Yeah. And there are some women right now that are listening to this podcast that have found themselves in situations where literally they are the forever girlfriend or the forever fiance. There's never the step to the next stage, and that is not fair to you. And so that's why those conversations should happen in the beginning. And the thing is, if you are a diamond, if you are a pearl, if you truly feel like you are one of a kind and you're walking in confidence, right? During the dating process, because you know that what you bring to the table, and you know that you're excellent, then I wouldn't settle for anything less. And so putting what your intentions are out there and allowing for him to also share his are very important. If he says, hey, marriage is not for me, and you want to get married, then I don't really see the back and forth and holding on to that relationship. You can put out there, hey, no, I really want to get married. I understand that you've been married before, it didn't go well, you've gotten a divorce, but this is something that I really want for my life. I want to have kids. I want to be married. And so I think it's important that you really, truly put that out there.
That's good. And I'm going to plug it one more time, ladies. The ring formula is where you want to be. First of all, they're hilarious. That's number one. And two, they're telling their own experience and they're telling the truth. So again, I plug and play the ring formula again. So y'all check that out.
Thank you.
Of course. I don't know if it's just me, but I hear all the time, marriage is work, work, work. Is marriage fun at all? Like, is there any fun that happens?
That's so funny that you would say that. And so, yes, people do say that. And I think, it's almost like someone says, I love my kids, but when people who are single and don't have kids hear that and they're like, oh, I love my kids, but it does make you pause on wanting to have kids. It's the same thing when people say, I love my marriage, man, but it's a whole lot of work. Always. Is marriage work? Absolutely. The thing is that I understand why married couples say that, whether it's the woman or the man, is because I think it comes at a place of care, where they're caring for you, where it's like, we do not want for you to go into a marriage believing that it's just going to be great every day, that it's going to take two responsible adults to make decisions in order to be considerate of each other, to compromise for each other. And it takes work on both people's parts in order to change, because it's not just about one person anymore. And so I will share this quick story about myself. And Alduan and I dated. My husband, his name is Alduan. So we dated for 5 years. People are like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy. Like, but the thing is that was my longest relationship. I had one serious relationship before that, but this was the second time in my life that I can honestly say that I fell in love. I really fell in love, right? Because you have that feeling, you know, in high school, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in love. This is amazing. I'm going to die if he leaves me type of feeling, right? This is only the second time in my life that I felt that way. So think about it. High school, all the way to me being an adult at the age of 25 when I met Alduan. And that's a long time for me to feel that feeling again about somebody, but I did. And so it's just, I would say this, it's just important that you allow for yourself to make sure that you know it's the right one too. Yeah. That you feel that feeling, that you're not settling in your feelings like, oh, you know, this is how I should feel. No, it should feel great. And so when it comes to kids, when it comes to marriage, yes, those things are work, but I would have it no other way. I'm a woman who is happily married. I love being married. We love marriage, which is why we have so many different platforms, between A Weekend for Love, our retreat, to the Powerful Praying Wife. Marriage is important to us. And we do feel like there's not enough people out there showing that they enjoy marriage. Yeah. You see a lot of the cheating, the infidelity, the behind the scenes, the person who's always, the people that do not like to be married, they typically tend to talk the loudest and yell the loudest. And you're always seeing things, whether it be on Instagram or Facebook. Oh my gosh, I can't believe they got a divorce or they got separated, yada, yada, yada. There are couples out there that are happily married. They're just very quiet and private about it in their homes, because they're like, look, we don't want to mess up a great thing. And so yes, marriage is a wonderful thing. So I don't want anyone to feel like they hear so much negativity that it stops them from wanting to be a wife or a husband, because there's so many benefits out there to being married.
That's so good. Everybody just exhaled on the Soulkation podcast. It is. Last question, Mecca. How can you discern in your marriage or relationship when you're tripping versus when it is a concern, it is a serious conversation? How can you discern the two?
Mm-hmm. So I think that goes back to prayer life. I really do. I ask every single night in my prayers that God gives me the spirit of discernment in every aspect, when it comes to friendships, when it comes to my marriage, any relationship. And so that's how I'm able to discern whether or not I need to sleep on it or he needs to sleep on it, whether or not I'm right or wrong. And the wonderful thing that I will say that adds to that is the prayer life, but it's also therapy. Because you need someone who is non-biased, that is not your girlfriend, that's pumping you up, because a girlfriend can pump you up all the way out of a good relationship. Can we talk? Can we be honest? And I've seen that happen before, where girlfriends that they try to have your best interest in mind, but here you are in a great relationship and it's a you problem that you need to fix. And they get on the bandwagon, oh girl, that's crazy. Like, you need to leave, you need to do this and that. And there you are, alone and by yourself, because you made a decision to leave, when truthfully it's you, which is why, whether it was Tom, Brad, Marcus, or whoever, it's the same person. Literally, you are dating the same person every single time because you have not fixed yourself first. So you attract the same guy. It's just a different name. And so that's where I think it's important that in marriage or any relationship that you ask God for the spirit of discernment when you guys are going back and forth about an issue you do not agree upon, that you have a man that's willing to pray with you, that you guys go into together, and then also therapy. Therapy is really important. And actually there was one of our ladies that went through the ring formula, and we talked to her about it. She's getting really serious with the guy. And we said, why don't you guys do, since you guys both know that you want to be married, why don't you start with not even pre-engagement and not even premarital, but just dating counseling, because you guys are both over 40. You know what you want. Why not do counseling now to see how that goes? And it's been great for them. Because the fact of the matter is we all have baggage. We have all things that we're carrying. And so you want to make sure that you go into a relationship and that you're truly giving a person a chance.
That's so good. That's really good. Dating therapy. I like that. So we're gonna ladies find you, follow you, attend. Oh my God, the wives prayer challenge, like all the above. Like, where can they find you?
Absolutely. So ladies, you can stay tuned on my website, which is www.meccamoretart.com. And that's MECCAMOORETARTT.com. And my Instagram handle is the same. It's at Mecca Tartt. And I would love for you all to join our network of powerful praying wives, powerful praying women, because before I was a wife, I was a powerful praying woman that was praying every single night for the man that I wanted to come into my life. And so we have our own apparel. I would love you all's support, especially as a small business owner. But I'm excited. I'm thankful for all the different platforms, the ways to be able to reach women all around the world. And it's about being a part of a tribe. Everybody wants to belong to something, belong to a community, and you're never alone. And so whether it's the ring formula in our tribe there or the powerful praying wife, or coming to our marriage retreat, A Weekend for Love, there's a lot of ways in which you can connect with us. And I'm just so very thankful for this opportunity to be a part of the podcast today.
Of course. I'm so happy you were here.
Thank you, Logan.
Thank you. Make sure you share this episode with your closest girlfriend, because this is going to be really, really good. Okay. And I'll catch you all on the next episode of the Soulkation podcast. My hope is that your soul just went on a vacay and you have tools that you can apply to your life today. For more in-depth tools, head on over to loganrenee.com. Also, if you have questions that weren't answered on this episode, email your questions to logan@loganrenee.com and I'll answer them here on the show. I'll talk to you soon.